rewarded in this state for being incompetent. As I note constantly on this program, homelessness has gotten worse, cost of living has gotten worse, crime has gotten worse, traffic is at least as bad. Man, I can't tell you what a harrowing experience I had at the Los Angeles International Airport over the weekend. I will not spend the rest of the show on that. That was very tempting just to complain about the single worst airport on earth. He doesn't solve any of the problems that we face as a state, and yet he is the front runner, according to many polls, for the nomination for the Democrat Party for the 2028 presidential election. And I got to tell you, I don't think this is going to go smoothly for him. I think a lot of people are out there and starting to understand that maybe he's pretty vulnerable considering he has this horrible record of, I don't know, blowing a massive budget surplus. The list goes on, letting half the state burn down. Even The Daily Show, which is generally a pretty good bellwether for where mainstream liberal thought is at on a given day. Let's play cut 13. They're even making fun of Newsom right now.
But this rising star couldn't be held down. And soon enough, Gavin ascended to governor. A role that would finally allow him to tackle important issues like homelessness and high-speed rail.
You can see the progress we've actually made. They're laying tracks to get to where they start to lay the tracks.
Now past the pandemic and the recall, no obstacle or small child could stand in his way. He was now totally free to work on his priorities like high-speed rail and homelessness. And this time, he actually made progress because company was coming over.
Folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true.
And so we ask that you consider Gavin Newsom, a screen-ready Christian Bale type ready to tackle chronic problems like homelessness and high-speed rail. Plus, he dances while he talks for some reason.
It's pretty good. You got to admit, it's pretty good. They got the footage. I got to add this to my laundry list that I've been reciting of when he went to China for who knows why, because he's governor of California, and other than, I guess, to shore up some sort of future political alliance with the Chinese. He goes over to China and he plays pickup hoop with 6-year-olds, and he's running them over. Like, he's completely decking them, all on video, and just emphasizing that he's campaigned on helping with homelessness and high-speed rail. And we've got nothing. We've never taken a high-speed rail. No one ever will. It's a grift. That is our Leering Center. You've heard it here. I will say it every show until this gets through to everyone. And that's the issue here. So the question is, who's going to be the president in 2028? And we learned that maybe it's actually Donald John Trump. Check out this question. He was doing an interview with NBC. Cut 11, please.
On January 21st, 2029, do you see any scenario where you are still president?
I don't know. It would be interesting. But wouldn't it be terrible if I agreed with, if I gave you the answer that you're looking for? It would make life so much less exciting, right? It would be so much less exciting. But I only do this for one reason: make America great again. And that's what we're doing.
It's just awesome. So he said, wow, maybe that'd be exciting if I was still the president. I got to tell you, I was going through a YouTube rabbit hole, and who knows what's going on at YouTube. I've told you guys that you also subscribe to the Marlow channel. We're putting out fresh podcasts 3 times a week on the YouTube feed, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. And the YouTube, you get all the visuals, so I like that for people. But, they just slash all my views, and they just take them away. They don't explain it. They just delete all the views. And then I came across a left-wing page by a guy named, his name is like David Pac-Man or something like that. And he had a video up from the last couple of days where he announced, or someone on the show announced, that Donald Trump will be dead in 4 months. And it got over 1 million views. So because this guy has diagnosed Trump, never examined him, but diagnosed him because Trump takes aspirin, and that's why he's got those splotches, the blood under his skin, because of the blood thinning of the aspirin that he takes from his doctor, which he's prescribed. And they've acted as though that means he's got some sort of terminal illness and he's going to die. And all of that stuff just goes around and around and around, and it's just all nonsense. And that's the economy that the people who disagree with Trump, that they're dealing with. Their idea of content that they want to consume is fantasies like Trump's about to drop dead, or that Trump is actually going to try to stay in office because it gets them so triggered, gets them so emotional. They really feel alive when they feel like Trump is not going to step down. So I love when Trump says this, because all it does is trigger the dumbest people on earth, and it makes them feel very emotional, and it makes them, I think, even less appealing politically to align themselves because they have no cool. They have no calm. Remember, the Democrats used to be the cool side, they used to be the calm side, and now they're the most hysterical people who've ever lived. And I think that's great. So Trump is triggering them. But there is one path. There is one path. The Constitution bars him from running again, but he could technically be president. So he'd have to recruit someone to run for president. And then after they run, he would have to be selected as vice president. And then the president would win and have to stand down and then allow Trump to assume the office for a third term. So it's possible. It could happen. That's the loophole, the vice presidential loophole. I'm not saying it's impossible that it could happen. I'm saying it's highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely it's going to happen. All right, I got to highlight, though, because I don't want this just to be a only Trump positive show. I got to highlight that from the same interview, he was talking about Bill Clinton, and Trump apparently likes Bill Clinton. Let's play cut 12, please.
NBC News broke the story today. I don't know if you saw it, that the Democrats are already saying if you bring President Bill Clinton and he has to testify, we're bringing President Trump. What do you say to that?
I think they might say that, but they've already brought me. See, I've been brought. They had me indicted many, many times. Many, many times.
And the president had some surprising thoughts about former President Bill Clinton.
It bothers me that somebody's going after Bill Clinton. See, I like Bill Clinton. I still like Bill Clinton.
What do you like about him?
I liked his behavior toward me. I thought he got me. He understood me. He was the one that said very famously that you don't want to run against Trump.
It's really good. That's all it takes. And I guess you're in Trump's good graces for a while. But Bill Clinton is almost certainly a criminal. So I just want to let people know that. That is, officially, have I disagreed with Trump much on the show since I've launched the show? This is one where I do disagree. I don't like Bill Clinton, and he is a criminal. But he does get Trump better than most people. That is a fact, and that's certainly something that Trump certainly has not forgotten. And but he is, look, the Clinton Foundation stuff. Peter Schweitzer's going to be here tomorrow. I also have an event with him, those of you who are listening live to radio, tonight for Breitbart Fight Club members. It's our premium members. We're having an event with Peter Schweizer. We're going to go through all his books. We're going to be able to interact with him, ask questions. You got to join the Breitbart Fight Club. It's our premium membership. It's a fantastic place to get extra resources with limited or no ads. Very good to get that stuff for all of you at Breitbart.com and our app. But I can get into this with Peter. All of his research is that the Clintons were running basically a criminal influence peddling ring with their Clinton Foundation, where they were getting hundreds of millions of dollars thrown in the foundation, and they were doing nothing charitable with it virtually. What they were doing is they were currying favor, influence, connecting people. It's very Epstein-light, and that's why Bill Clinton, of course, connected with Epstein. So Trump doesn't like the people going after Clinton. I officially disagree with President Trump on that. But you know what? I still find it charming the way Trump says it, and that's one of his things that he's got. He's much more charming when you disagree with him than so many others that are like him. For example, let's take a young man named Keith Olbermann, famously from MS Now, who is now the ultimate loudmouth podcaster. You guys got to hear this to believe it. This is him reacting to the round of layoffs that took place at the Washington Post that were announced yesterday. Check this out.
It is imperative that the Democratic Party and the United States of America commit to the financial destruction of Jeff Bezos. Every Democratic would-be president, would-be senator, would-be congressman, would-be governor must commit to use the anti-monopoly laws of this nation to break up Amazon, Amazon Prime, Amazon Charter Control, and I would say break up the Washington Post, but Jeff Bezos has already broken up the Washington Post. This is an event that has far more meaning than it has practical importance, but it is extraordinarily important because Jeff Bezos destroyed the Washington Post so he could spend $75 million to flatter Donald Trump and tell him the lie that his wife is attractive and is a movie star.
Well, Melania is absolutely a movie star, and she's triggering people, too, in the process. $1 million in box office for a documentary on a Monday. So the biggest documentary of its kind in 10 years, despite virtually no critical acclaim whatsoever. Only word of mouth, people like me, people like us at Salem and at Breitbart getting the word out. Very important. But the triggering, it's so delicious. It's a who would ever want to be on that guy's side. He looks so pasty. He's so angry. He's got the same look and glasses as Rachel Maddow. It just is all self-parodying. All of it. And Trump draws all these people out. Here's what killed the Washington Post, in case you care, and none of you do in this audience, but if you care, they killed themselves. They killed themselves by running hard to the left, by being so incredible. We've written thousands of stories about inaccuracies in the Washington Post. I have tons of details in my first book, Breaking the News, about just the extent to which Washington Post would bend themselves into knots, trying to prove Donald Trump wrong for stuff where Trump was correct, while embarrassing themselves over and over again with falsehoods. That's why they lost so much credibility. And it was also too bloated. It's a dying business model, and they haven't pivoted to anything that's new media centric. Like the New York Times figured out that if you do games and if you do the puzzles and if you do recipes and if you do podcasts, you get a sustainable business model. If you have a subscription that people are willing to pay for, you get a sustainable business model. They never figured that out, and Jeff Bezos is not in the business of figuring it out for them. They couldn't figure it out. So they're just going to cut. They cut about 30% of their staff. Here are the sections that were cut. First of all, one thing that got cut was their climate beat. Their climate beat is 13 people. 13 people. I don't have a single beat at Breitbart, including politics. There's 13 people in it. They had 13 people covering the climate beat, where they promised us global warming. We're experiencing record levels of cold right now, and we're still got the climate beat. They cut the book section. Whose fault is that? Books has fallen out of the centerpiece of our culture. I love books. I love reading books. I love writing books. It's just not the centerpiece of the culture. Sports. They got completely lapped. Local sports, the Washington Post, is unnecessary. There's way better sports coverage all over the internet. They don't need it. Even local and metro coverage, they've not been accurate. They've allowed that city, Washington, D.C., to go to complete trash. It is completely unsafe. It's lacked its charm. There's no accountability for the leadership there. And so they don't have these great gumshoe reporters holding the powers to be accountable. And finally, they're cutting international and foreign bureaus because why? They're irrelevant. Anything they report does not curry any favor with the current administration. So why are they reporting it? They're reporting it for no reason. Anything they report in the Washington Post, it has no pull in Washington, D.C., where it should matter. That's why it's getting cut. It's a disgrace. And good for, thanks to Olbermann for giving me that content. I'm out now, Sean. So we got to take a break. And then, I'm out in 30. Okay, perfect. When we come back, I will tease that I've got Kathy Griffin melting down over Melania Trump. So if you don't want to hear that, then you and I do not have the same sense of humor.